Things aren't looking too great in the stock market right now, if I'm being completely honest. With the S&P 500 down by about 4.3% in the past month alone, things are definitely taking a turn for the worse. So with all that being said, in today's video, I'm going to be providing an update on the performance of my investment portfolio over the past month. In my last portfolio update video, which was recorded 4 weeks ago, I had roughly around £95,000 invested across Vanguard, Trading212 and InvestEngine. And in today's video, we're going to see how that total investment pot has changed in retaliation to the latest stock market decline. So ladies and gentlemen, get your popcorn out because this is a portfolio update video that you don't want to miss. Let's get right into it. So in today's video, I'm slightly changing the format. For those who are regular viewers of the channel, I usually start these portfolio update videos with my Vanguard portfolio, just because Vanguard is where the majority of my money in my investment portfolio is. However, today we're going to be kicking things off with InvestEngine. So as you can see, with InvestEngine, I currently have £9,856.34 invested, of which £368.84 comes as my overall return or my overall gain. If you're not currently using InvestEngine, then I would highly recommend you look into the platform. I absolutely love the platform. As you can see, it's very clean. It has a beautiful user interface. They also have a wide variety of accounts available, including stock and shares ISAs, SIPPs, and general investment accounts. I'm going to leave a link to download the app in the comments and the description of this video. And if you download the app via my referral link, when you invest your first £100, InvestEngine will give you a free welcome bonus worth between £20 and £100. Right, so kicking things off with my stocks and shares ISA, if we just go into that account, you can see with my stocks and shares ISA with InvestEngine, I have £9,723.66. So the majority of the money that I hold within InvestEngine actually is in my stocks and shares ISA account. As you can see, I've got 3p sitting in cash. Unfortunately, you can't invest amounts that are smaller than £1, so I'm just gonna have to wait and let that just sit there for the time being. Scrolling down ever so slightly, you can see the graph behind my stocks and shares ISA. Blue line resembles the deposits, so this is the amount of cash that I've deposited into the account, and then the green line resembles my returns on top of my deposits. So as you can see, I was pretty much breaking even up until October, and then after October is where I actually started to see some profit in this portfolio. Switching over to the month tab, you can see my portfolio is down by 3.98% in the past month alone, which works out to be an exact loss of £500 on the dot. Yes, I know, not so great. And then if we look at the weekly tab, you can see that in the past week, things have actually improved. So in the past week, I'm actually up by 2.39%, which works out to be a numeric return of £171.50. Scrolling down to my actual holdings, again, I say this in every video, but I like to keep my investing strategy as simple as possible. So within this stock and shares ISA portfolio, I only hold 3 funds. The first is FWRG. I currently have £5,224.28 in this fund. Next up is VUAG, and I have £3,190.50 invested into this fund. And then last but not least, we have XNAQ, where I hold £1,308.85. So that wraps up the stock and shares ISA. Now let's head over to the SIP side of the portfolio and see how the SIP is performing. So with my InvestEngine SIP, I'm currently at a loss of £4.80, leaving me with an overall total balance of £132.68. In terms of the holdings in this portfolio, very simple, even more simple than the stocks and shares ISA. So I only hold 1 fund, and that is FWRG, which of course is a global tracking ETF. The fund includes about 2,300 stocks from around the world, so it's very diversified. Unfortunately, it hasn't performed great lately. Of course, a large proportion of that is invested in the US, and of course, American stocks have taken quite a big beating over the past 4 weeks or so. But nonetheless, it's a great fund, it's great for diversification, and I'm banking on this fund in the long term to do well. So that wraps up my InvestEngine pot. Just to summarize, I currently have £9,856.34 invested with InvestEngine. Now let's head over to the big account. Let's open up Vanguard and see how things are performing over at Vanguard. So as of the 26th of March, I currently have £78,320.83 invested across my Vanguard stock and shares ISA and SIP account. Scrolling down ever so slightly, you can see that money is made up of my contributions as well as the returns that my contributions have made. So I've actually contributed £64,239.44. And as a result of investing that money, I've gained a return of £14,080.39. My rate of return has now dropped to 34.94%. I believe at its peak, it was at about 52%. And then scrolling down ever so slightly, you can see the chart that sits behind the data. So if I actually zoom in on the time frame, here you can see my Vanguard portfolio really peaked at about the end of January. And then from there, things have dropped quite significantly. So at its peak, it was at about £84,000. And of course now, as of the 26th of March, it's currently sitting at 78,000. So with that being said, things have dropped quite significantly since February. Let's take a look at the month tab and see the exact numbers that my portfolio has dropped by. So here's my data on a month by month view. As you can see, in March, my investment portfolio has dropped by £4,144.49. Oh my God! This is actually my worst performing month by quite a bit. I believe my worst month before this was last year, December, where I lost about 1.9K. So this is actually more than double what I lost back then. Scrolling down ever so slightly even more, you can see in February, again, that was another really bad month. So I actually ended the month at a loss of £2,500.87. But again, January, and I think I covered this in my previous portfolio update, but that was a really, really good month. So I actually made a gain of £3,173.28. So just going back to my March data specifically, if you look at the cumulative returns, you can see that I'm actually still in profit. The portfolio is sitting at a positive return of £14,080.39. So despite the major correction that's happened over February and March, luckily, because I've been investing for several years now, my portfolio is still in the profit. Now, if you're someone who's just started your investing journey, then you're most likely going to be sitting at a negative return right now, just because of the way the stock market has performed over the past several weeks. I know it can be slightly disheartening to log into your portfolio and see that you're in the red, but you need to remind yourself why you started investing in the first place. Back when I initially started my investing journey in October 2021, I was actually at a loss for quite a while. So my portfolio was in the red for several months. And back then I could have decided to give up investing because I wasn't seeing the benefit at that point in time. But I decided to stick things through, and I eventually, of course, became profitable. So for anyone who's thinking about panic selling and liquidating their portfolio, my recommendation would be to just remind yourself of why you're investing. You need to remember that this is a long-term strategy and it's not something that you're going to reap the benefits from over weeks or months. With investing in growth stocks, ETFs and index funds, you need to remember that the real growth happens over decades. Just keep a long-term vision and a long-term approach, and in decades to come, you will remember why you first started your investing journey. So anyway, with all that being said, to summarize, in my Vanguard portfolio, across my stock and shares ISA and SIP, I currently have £78,320.83 invested. Now let's take a head over to my Trading212 portfolio and let's take a look at what's happening over there. So welcome to my Trading212 stock and shares ISA account. As you can see, in this particular portfolio, I currently have £104.30. Obviously, this amount is quite insignificant in comparison to my InvestEngine and Vanguard portfolios. However, I really just wanted to put in a bit of money into Trading212 just so I could test out the features. I do know that quite a few of you already do use Trading212, and of course, I want to create content that's relatable to you guys. So that's really why I decided to put in a bit of money into Trading212. Obviously, the new UK tax year is coming into play on the 5th of April, which I believe is next week. As of right now, I've maxed out my annual ISA allowance, and I'm currently having a debate as to which platform or which provider I'm going to be using for the new UK tax year. At the moment, I'm inclined to use Trading212 just because, like I said, I know a lot of you do use Trading212, and I think it'd be really cool to get this portfolio up to a size similar to my other portfolios, but I'm still a bit undecided, so I'll give it some more further thought. If we scroll down to the holdings in this portfolio itself, very similar to my InvestEngine portfolio holdings. Again, I'm just holding 3 funds. The first up is the Vanguard S&P 500. The second is the Invesco FTSE All World, and the third is the X-Trackers Nasdaq 100. As you can see, all three of these funds are accumulating funds, and I much prefer accumulating funds over income funds just because I like the fact that the dividends get reinvested and I don't have to necessarily worry about manually reinvesting those dividends as you would have to if you were choosing the income type funds. Of course, you guys know this already, but my strategy is a long-term strategy, therefore it makes sense to just hold accumulating funds. So that wraps up this week's investment portfolio update video. Just to summarize, I currently have £88,281 invested across Vanguard, InvestEngine and Trading212. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like, and to make sure you don't miss out on future portfolio update videos, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I'll catch you back here next week.